Hey, it's me, Matt. If you're watching this, I've either hit or am frustratingly close to 200,000 subscribers. In June of 2017, I released a YouTube video. I'm extremely embarrassed by it now, but at the time, it was the culmination of dozens of hours of work. I'd come home from my full-time job and sit at my busted old computer for hours at a time to work on this little project. It's sloppy and amateurish, but I was teaching myself how to edit videos, how to write video essays, how to present myself. I was in a very, very dark place at that time. I'd completely given up on life. I'd given up on ever having a meaningful career and failed at everything I had tried up until that point. I was a university dropout with no skills, no passions, no future. For a while, I entertained dreams of being a stand-up comedian, but my increasing social anxiety made that impossible. If it ever was possible, I don't know, maybe I just wasn't funny enough. And eventually, I just stopped leaving the house altogether. So I got a shitty paying job in a creative field where most of the time I did pretty much nothing. I was constantly on the verge of losing that job, and none of that was helped by my shitty performance. The precarity was eating me alive. What happened when I inevitably lost that job and had to go back to being just another NEET? That'd be it. Go work retail until eventually I dropped dead. That felt natural. Like the culmination of a lifetime of failure and inadequacy. I'd spent my whole childhood behind the mark. Too dumb to do well in school, too lazy to succeed at sports, too weird to make friends, too unattractive to get dates, too unkind to have deserved much better, if I'm being honest. Not enough of anything, but wanting so desperately to be paid attention to. I was so convinced of my own superiority, that I was so destined for greatness, that it didn't matter that I never applied myself to anything. Eventually, some opportunity would come my way. Eventually, someone, somewhere, would recognize the hidden greatness within me, and they'd show me what I should have been doing this whole time. That person never showed up. And little by little, I came to understand that I just wasn't good at anything. Literally anything. No matter what I wanted to do, I always lacked the skill and persistence to get it. Wanted to be a writer, but I couldn't appreciate literature. I wanted to be an actor, but I was too insecure. I wanted to be an artist, but I couldn't apply myself to learn to draw. I wanted to be a comedian, but I was too afraid to put myself out there. I wanted to matter, and I just didn't know how. There was nothing I cared enough about to apply myself to, or maybe I just lacked the ability to apply myself in general. I don't know. This wasn't even my first attempt at a YouTube channel. Before this one, I tried a movie review channel where I produced one proto-thought slime video about how much I hated Zack Snyder's Dawn of the Dead, and then gave up when I wasn't immediately successful. Then I tried to make a Let's Play channel where I recorded some shitty Minecraft videos before my computer crashed and I could no longer play Minecraft on it, and I couldn't afford to upgrade the computer, so I gave up on that project too. And it makes sense, I guess. I'm not good at video games, and I don't know anything about movies. Why would I do well? So in that miasma of failure, that never-ending parade of disappointment and self-loathing, I released a shitty little video about political correctness. Inspired by creators like HBomberGuy, PhilosophyTube, and Sean, I wasn't comfortable showing my face because I was too sensitive about my fucked up teeth, so I drew a little avatar of myself that encapsulated everything I hated about my appearance. Bulbous, neotnous, sickly pale, chubby. This is how I saw myself, and that's what I drew. People hated it. And I thought, good, you should hate it. I hate it too. It's me. I released the video, and nobody watched it. In a couple of months, it got about 13 views. It took me almost 6 months to get 100 subscribers. Another failure, of course. What did I expect? But for some reason, I can no longer fathom I was proud of my work, even if it had failed to find an audience. So I kept making videos, and then gradually, they started to find that audience. More and more, making these videos felt validating, the first real proof that I ever existed. So I threw myself into this project. I started buying equipment, spent hours researching how to use new software, researched what a successful YouTube channel needed. And I started gathering a community, and I started upping my output. I made a rule that I would never go more than 2 months without a video, then 1 month, then 2 weeks. It was a lot of work, and I had a full-time job to keep up, even if I wasn't really applying myself at that job. Molly convinced me to start a Patreon, though I fought it tooth and nail. I thought I wasn't ready. Nobody would pay for my garbage. People would be angry at me for daring to presume that they would. I could see the precarity in my head. I felt like I was risking the one thing that I had ever even mildly succeeded at, this little YouTube channel with a couple thousand subscribers. Such a pitiful accomplishment. but it was the only thing I had to my name. In a particularly dark period, I left my job. The only job in a creative field I'd ever managed to get. One that I'd held on to for years despite being a shitty employee. I had no hope of ever getting another one, but I left to learn web development, and I thought I was doing something mature and respectable. Finally, I was giving up on my dreams, like people are supposed to do when they become adults. I was finally learning the lesson that life had been trying to teach me since the beginning, that I don't have what it takes. Most people have to let go on their dreams eventually, and I was being stubborn and arrogant by holding on to mine for so long, despite all the evidence that I would never achieve them, that they were nebulous and vague anyway. I barely had a goal, let alone a plan to achieve it, let alone the will to enact that plan. But of course I failed at that too. I graduated, sure, but by the skin of my teeth. I absorbed about 1/10 of the info I was supposed to, and left that course without the skills or drive to get my foot in the door of the industry. There was truly nothing left for me, other than a lifetime of being terrible at jobs I didn't even want in the first place. But by that time, I was making almost half of what I'd made at my previous job on Patreon. I reasoned that if I applied myself a bit harder, for a change, I could probably make a living on it. It was a risk, but it also kind of wasn't, because it was the only opportunity I had left. So I set to work with a new release schedule, started making videos once a week, every week. And that was really overwhelming, but for some reason I decided to double it and made a second channel where I could talk more freely about something else I was interested in. Started making 2 videos a week, and that's been more or less the schedule I've stuck to since then. I've started doing better, both in terms of the work I was putting out and the results I was getting from that work. I started making more money than I had at my old job. Then I started making as much as I would have if I had stuck with programming. Then I started making as much as friends my age. 10,000 subscribers, 50,000, 100,000, 200,000. Millions of views, millions of hours of watch time. And it all feels so phony, like a sick joke. Who am I, this perpetual loser, to inform anyone about anything? An untrained, uneducated simpleton, neither intellectually curious enough or gifted enough to understand anything beyond what most people could pick up in a few hours. I don't deserve this. Something is wrong. I don't have the insight that my peers have. I don't have the knowledge they've worked hard to gain. I don't have the charisma, flourish, or technical know-how. The only reason anyone is even watching my videos is because I happened to start making them at a time when there were fewer left-wing voices on YouTube, and that became a trend. Now there are thousands of people like that, and I'd never be able to compete if I started today. One lucky break, that's all that separates me from a sea of more qualified people. And what a fraud I am, preaching these values but not living them. Telling everyone the importance of equality and abolishing authority while doing everything in my power to hold on to my little e-celebrity clout. I sleep at night by telling myself that I think other entertainers deserve to get paid, but I'm not an entertainer. I'm a wannabe entertainer who tricked people into thinking I'm an educator. I'm a blogger with delusions of being an artist. I'm the worst kind of grifter, the kind who's too dumb to even recognize they're a grifter. I'm not in on my own grift. See, I talk like I want to make the world a better place, but I don't. Not really, because if I really cared about making the world a better place, there's only one thing I could do. There's only one way for me to add more happiness into the world than misery I cause somewhere else. The carbon I emit, the slave labor that goes into producing the goods I buy, the effort my loved ones and friends have to spend taking care of me. There's nothing I can do to balance that equation. If I had the guts to live up to my convictions, I'd put a bullet in my head. And if hearing that makes you worry about me, don't worry. I don't have the guts. Probably won't ever have the guts. Can't stand being alive, but I'm too afraid to die. And I want to tell you that there's some lesson in this, some way that I clawed my way back from feeling this way, some new perspective that makes me feel hopeful. But again, that's the wannabe entertainer in me. I want to give the story a happy ending, that there's hope for everyone. That you may stumble along the path, but you get somewhere in the end. Everybody does. I don't know if I believe that. That's what I wrote a few days ago, in the middle of a mental health tailspin that incapacitated me for a couple of real-life days. Didn't make a video last week. You might have noticed that, and that's why. It's those feelings. And did those feelings go away eventually? No. See me now, though? Back in character? That's right, I'm a character. Look at what I do with my eyebrows. I don't even need to do this. I can turn it on and off on a dime, baby. A couple things I gotta point out whenever I make a video like this. Number one, you don't know me. You might feel like you know me. You don't. I'm a stranger on the internet. Number 2, you don't owe me anything. It is not your job to make me feel better. It's, in fact, quite literally my job to make you feel better. Number 3, perhaps most importantly, check your carbon monoxide detectors. That one's not really relevant to the themes of the video, it's the silent killer. Should check them every so often. People need to be reminded of that. Anyway, guess what? I've got imposter syndrome, or I'm genuinely an imposter. I'll never know, and it's killing me. Looks like I finally found a problem I can't blame on capitalism. Just kidding, just watch me, you little freaks. Whether we want to or not, emphasis on the not, we tie our self-worth to our perception of our own productivity. That might work pretty good if you're a doctor or a bricklayer, because at the end of the day, you know you cured somebody's butt worms, or you put down a ton of bricks or whatever. But if you have a fake job, as I do, then how do you measure your productivity? Not your success. That's simple. YouTube gives me a lot of dopamine-fueling numbers to obsess over every day. But how do I measure whether the thing I've made is good? Whether I am doing a good job? I certainly can't base it on comments, because my comments are usually full of obsequious praise with the occasional trolling. Very seldomly do I receive constructive criticism. The criticism I get being more of the, hey, look at this cuck variety. And it's not just a problem for my particular breed of fake job either. I mean, the comments are. Not most people don't get comments at their job. I mean, determining when we've done well. Since we all feel pitted against one another in this dog-eat-dog world, where most people's lives get spent in needless, humiliating servitude, in the back of our heads, it's hard not to feel like we don't deserve our successes. Like you're not just one day away from everyone figuring out that anyone can do what you do better than you do. Who do? You do. The magic of... Guess who that feeling of precarity benefits? Guess who it makes you obey? Success does not work that way. Nobody gets what they deserve because we live in an indifferent universe. Van Gogh died penniless. Ernest Cline is a multimillionaire because he wrote Ready Player One, the book where the protagonist is able to see past the fact that his love interest has a port wine stain on her face to see the beauty underneath. Good stuff. Not at all just a way to present a normal blemish as though it's a horrible disfigurement, and then present the act of loving a disfigured person as an act of charity. That's a cool way to write a book, and a cool way to look at women and people with disfigurements. Man, what a cool book you made! I'm glad you're raking in the big bucks, Ernest! The thing is, we're all imposters. It is fundamentally unfair that I succeed where hundreds of other, far more capable and worthy people do not. It's also unfair that tons of complete goblins, just utter turds, run circles around me. I didn't succeed because I deserved to. Because everybody deserves to succeed, with the noted exception of Ernest Cline. Now don't get me wrong, I work hard. That doesn't, hurt my chances, but I didn't get anything I have from hard work. It's a good thing that I do work hard, I guess. That is a good quality to have.
There are lots of valid reasons why someone might not be willing or able to work hard. I am by no means trying to disparage people with chronic illnesses, disabilities, or mental health problems which make hard work difficult, painful, or unpleasant. What qualifies as hard work is also dependent on a lot of factors beyond people's abilities to control. Hard work may be a good quality if you can manage it, but it is not a prerequisite for being a good or worthwhile person.
Plenty of people worked harder than me and got a lot less, and plenty of people did less work and got a lot more. Working hard didn't get me 200,000 subscribers, and you're not going to get whatever you want through hard work either. Now don't get it twisted, you're probably going to have to work hard either way. That doesn't guarantee you anything. For one thing, you could fall down an open manhole and get eaten by sewer alligators tomorrow. Who knows? We're all just dead atoms floating through the void. Does that feel unfair? Yeah, it is. It's also unfair that you were born into the tiny sliver of human history where we have penicillin, while Og the caveman and his partner, Slog the cave person, Slog is non-binary, didn't get that. Hell, you were the sperm that made it among millions. None of it is fair. And the lesson you should take away from that is to have compassion for people who don't make it, and to ease up on the pressure of needing to both succeed and deserve success. Because with enough luck, you might just succeed, whatever that means to you, but you'll never deserve it, no matter what you do, because nobody deserves anything. And if you think you can earn success by doing more than all the other people out there, you're out of your fucking gourd. Do you seriously think you can be the hardest working person on earth? That you deserve the thing you want more than anyone else?
Oh, well, actually, Thought Slime, I'm an Olympic gymnast. I worked hard to get my medals. I deserve my photo on the Wheaties box and my Nike sponsorship. I'm the best in the world.
Lucky you were born somewhere where they train people for the Olympics instead of, like, working as a child slave in a Nike factory, or, you know, being born as a seahorse, or not at all, or the Earth getting hit by a meteor. Because on some level, we are all relying on providence beyond our abilities to control. We all got lucky, and we all got screwed. Someone else had it better than you, and somebody else has it worse. Doesn't matter who or what you are. That's just the way of the world. It isn't simply that we don't live in a meritocracy. It's that the very idea of a meritocracy is ludicrous. Like, even if it could exist, would you want to live in a world like that if you didn't feel like you had merit? And nobody does, because merit isn't real, talent isn't real, effort isn't real. They're lies that we tell ourselves so that we can pretend we're in control, that our actions dictate the results we get, and that there is a fundamental order to the world. That can be a useful idea. It's hard for me to work up the energy to exercise or clean the toilet if I don't think my actions will lead to good results. Maybe sometimes that makes us feel better or motivates us, but a lot of the time it makes us feel a whole hell of a lot worse and demotivates us. You're rich? Well, you must be smart. You're poor? You must be lazy. Very few people are rich. Most people are poor. Very few people, almost no people, are at the top of their fields. The rest of us can't hope to measure up. The rest of us have to live with that fact. Maybe some of you watching this run your own small YouTube channels. I'm guessing a few of you do, given how you always send me emails about them with the word eyeballs in the description. For some reason, don't really understand that. And maybe you look at me and feel discouraged. Either you think it's unfair that I'm doing better than you, and you're right if you think that, or you think you'd never be able to get to where I am, and maybe you're right about that too. I don't know, but I would never tell you not to try. Let me tell you something from experience. There is no external validation that is going to make you stop feeling that way, because that feeling comes from inside. Nothing from the outside is going to change it. People tell me every day that seeing the notification from my videos cheered them up on a bad day or otherwise brought them out of a dark place. People tell me every day that my videos brought them out of the alt-right or convinced them to see the humanity of people they hadn't considered before. I get emails from people every couple of months saying that something I said made them reconsider committing suicide. When I hear those things, I don't feel better. It just makes me feel like, oh no, what happens to that person when they discover I'm a fraud? So then, I have to ask myself, what would make me feel better? What would it take to convince me that I'm not a fraud? And I can't think of anything. Because there's no way to disprove it. There's no way to shake it off. And maybe that's the price of success, if you can call what I'm doing success. Because even that feels a little arrogant. It's success on my terms, you get it? Or maybe I am right and I'm actually a fraud. I'll never know. And I need to be okay not knowing. I need to make peace with the fact that success and failure are both arbitrary. They're both things we decide the meaning of. And if I'm the one deciding, I can't really say definitively whether I've done either, can I? But at the very least, I did resist doing an Among Us theme for this video. That would have been a dramatic visual metaphor for imposter syndrome because it's a game all about there being one imposter in a group. Like, I could have had one player think they're the imposter even though they're not, start thinking to themselves like, oh, maybe because I'm bad at the tasks that I must be a sleeper agent, I must be an imposter and not know it. See, that'd do really good for SEO, though I guess I could still put anything I want on the tags as long as I mention it in the video. Jake Paul, Minecraft, Fortnite fails, TikTok compilations, prank gone wrong. But an Among Us theme wouldn't have been honest. I don't feel like an Among Us. I feel like a Raid Shadow Legend. Folks, if you've never played this game, it's a mobile game with console quality. Hello? I don't have much time. Look, that isn't me. I know it looks like me, but that's an imposter. And I don't mean that because it's thematically relevant to the subject of the video. That's just a happy coincidence because I really did relate to what he said. I mean, he's taken my place, okay? I'm trapped here. I don't know where here is, and I don't know how long I've been here, but you have to help me. You have to get me out. In the Solidarity Corner, we highlight small leftist projects that need our help. Because sometimes you can beg for help as hard as you want, but help is never coming. And oh, I got a fresh video for you this week, folks. Zobie's video, Am I White Trash? Trash Food and the Diet of the Poor, goes into the classist construction of which foods are considered trashy and the ways that punishes poor people. Like, for instance, apparently, in the United States, casseroles are considered trashy, which I didn't know, but I guess that makes sense because they're cheap and easy to make, so why wouldn't you hate them? Get in on the ground floor this time, folks. Only 127 subscribers. That's fucking wild, considering the quality of her videos. That is, pardon the expression, donkey sauce. You might as well save yourself some time and subscribe to her now, because you'll be doing it eventually. Trust me on this one. Do you have a small leftist project you'd like to see featured here in the Solidarity Corner and nowhere else? Go ahead and send me an email at thoughtslimeeditor@gmail.com with the words somewhere in the subject line, and maybe you can come hang with me here over in the chill, happy Solidarity Zone. With me, ThoughtSlime. Hey, thanks for watching my video. I'm fine. Hey, listen. Normally at the end of a video, what I like to do is a bunch of calls to action. But I think that given that I talked about being very sad in this video, that would be a little not great. That would be a little manipulative. So instead, what I'm going to do is I'm going to read some knock-knock jokes. Knock knock, who's there? Harry. Harry who? Hurry up and answer the door. Knock knock, who's there? Cash. Cash who? No thanks, but I'll take a peanut if you have one. What? What is that? Knock knock, who's there? Big interrupting cow. Big interrupting cow. Moo! That one works better if with two people. In parentheses, they've noted, the moo needs to be delivered while the other person is still asking who's there. You got to get the timing right on that one. Knock knock, who's there? Canoe. Canoe who? Canoe come out and play with me? Kind of creepy when an adult reads that particular knock knock joke. Knock knock, who's there? Lettuce. Lettuce who? Let us in, it's cold out here. Knock knock, who's there? Mikey. Mikey who? Mikey doesn't fit in the keyhole. Hey Mikey, you don't live here. Who gave you a key? Knock knock, who's there? Stopwatch. Stopwatch who? Stop what you're doing and let me in. Good one. Knock knock, who's there? I am. I am who? You don't know who you are? Whoa. Whoa. That one's deep. Knock knock, who's there? Ice cream. Ice cream who? I scream if you don't let me in. Knock knock, who's there? Doctor. Doctor who? You've seen that TV show? A clever inversion of the knock knock joke premise. Knock knock, who's there? Ya. Yahoo. No thanks. I prefer Google. Knock knock, who's there? Nana. Nana who? Nana, your business. Well, you're the one knocking on my door, Nana. How about that? Knock knock, who's there? Justin. Justin who? Just in the neighborhood and thought I'd come on by. Anyway, that should be enough knock knock jokes to kill this time. You're all a little bit closer to the grave.